this is our guest today, which is actually a rat. It's actually called giant pouched rat. You can take a look very closely. It's very adorable. Can you guess his age? It looks quite ordinary, but it's actually only 4 weeks. Now let's take a look at what it looks like. And you can see that it has very big ears, and from here you can see that the abdomen of the rat is in white color. I'm putting the rat in my palm, and you can even feel his paws and heartbreak, and it has a very long tail. And this rat, as I said, it's only 4 weeks old, but it's the size of an ordinary rat that you normally see, and when it grows up it's gonna be 20 to 35 centimeters, so it will be as big as a cat, and its tail can even reach 30 centimeters. And now let's return this rat to the staff. Thank you. So why we are going to introduce a rat to you in today's program, and what capacity does this rat have? Well, this rat is actually a mine clearance rat, and they have a nickname called HeroRATS. And they are the true heroes on the African continent. And you may ask, how is this possible? And all the information I hear about rats is negative, and people hate this kind of animal. Rat is likened to short-sighted, and it's not favored by anyone. But this rat we're introducing today is one that has brought a lot of blessings to the Africans. And now we're going to give you some more detailed introduction. Let's take a look at this one, and this one is climbing out. Well, this one is currently being trained. Through the training, the rat is going to be transformed from an ordinary one into a special agent. And this is a socialization training. As you know that the rat, they only move at night, and they like darkness, and they do not like any sound or light. But if these kind of rats are to work with women or to work with men, then they are not going to be very cooperative. And if they are going to work with men, they have to adapt themselves to different sound and also to the light. So this is the very first step of this training. This is socialization training or socializing training, so that you can get used to this broad lights and human sound and different kinds of sound that human hear. And now let's take a look at the trainer, and what kind of activity does he do with the rat, and how do you socialize with the rat? So he gave us an introduction of his ordinary job, and he socialized with the rats, and each and every day he will walk around with the rats in a training center, and he will also place the rats on the ground and play with them so that they get used to all the sound around us. For example, the sound of vehicles and the sound of the mother nature. And after a period of time, and they will never get frightened of these environments. And this kind of training starts when the rat is only 4 weeks old. And after 1 or 2 weeks, the rats will get used to everything around us. And after this kind of training, we are gonna measure the performance of the rats. So here they have a checklist table for performance. So here we have a table. On this table, you can see that the name of the rats, the parents of the rats, their date of birth, and the date of training. And now on this column, we have some specific indicators. For example, we put the rats in our pockets and the rats will not go away. And we can also place the rats on a moving table and the rats wouldn't get panic. And here, for example, it shows that when the rat is placed on the engine cover of a car, and when we blow the horn, then the rats wouldn't get frightened. So when we reach all these training targets, the rats can graduate and move on to the second session of the training. So what is the second training? You see, behind me there are a lot of cages in which there is plenty of rats, and we're going to walk into a training field and we can take a look at what is the next round of training for those rats, because the second round of training takes place when the rat is 5 to 6 weeks. Because rats aged between 5 to 6 weeks, they are kind of growing up. And we cannot give you a demo here today, but you can take a look at this field. And we call this training food seeking. Well, this is actually an experiment to train the responsiveness of the rats. In my hand is what you use to train your dogs. And you just press it, it can generate a sound. You can hear the click sound. For the first round of training in this session, the trainer will press this little box so to attract the attention of the rats. So the rats, they can find the place where this sound is originated, and when this too is identified by the rats, and then the trainer can feed the rats, and then the trainer can do a second round a second time, and then the rats can find this too, and he gets fed again. So this is kind of a training of responsiveness. So here, this is a very brief seasoning bar, and on which we have the symbol of a cross. But this is not actually accommodating seasonings that for food, it's actually filling explosives. And then the trainer is going to combine this click sound box with this TNT filled container. Let me give you a brief demo here. Let me find myself a glove. So the trainer is gonna place this ball, which is containing explosives, and the trainer is gonna put this explosive ball under the dirt. When the rat is approaching the ball, the trainer is gonna make out that sound. So the rat is gonna approach this ball containing explosives, and it is at this time that the trainer is gonna displace this TNT containing ball and locate it somewhere else. And after a certain period of time, the rats, they can get accustomed to the smell of the explosives. And so each and every time after hearing this sound, and they will be given the order to search for balls containing explosives. And after a long period of time, and they will be able to move on to this next round of the training. And for this particular training, it will take roughly 1 to 2 weeks. So let's have a quick recap. When the rat is 5 or 6 weeks old, and he gets to trainings like this. And now let's take a look at what is the next training. Let me take off this glove and put it back. Now let's go to the next training. This research center is called APOPO. It's actually a Belgian research organization. But why is it operating in Tanzania? Well, this is because Tanzania is a major place where you can find a lot of rats. And when they are doing this kind of research, they worked together with Swano University. So in 1995, the founder of APOPO, he was actually conducting a research about clearing all the landmines left over from the wars in different parts of the history. Because when he was a kid, he used to raise rats, and he knew that rats, they have very strong sense of smell. And then he came across an article about rats sensing different smells, and that's how this idea came to his head. And then he worked with his tutors and supervisors, and then they looked around the world and identified several different categories of rats which are most capable of identifying subjects with different smells. And that's how this idea came into being. Now this is the third session of the training, and you can see that the staff, they are getting ready for the training of these rats. So now the rats in front of us is 12 weeks old, and you can see it's obviously larger. And for this round of the training, everything is more sophisticated. So I have on my hand a new glove, and inside this box you can see there are a lot of containers or balls, and in the box that we just saw, it's marked red, and here on these bars it's marked with a blue sign, which means that inside the box there is no TNT explosives. It's filled with something different, for example, coffee or flour powder or tea leaves. In this round of the training, the staff, they are gonna make the conditional reflex, which we saw just now, much more sophisticated. And they are going to add some balls that do not contain any explosives, and then they're gonna let the rats to find those balls. Now let's take a look at how this training is conducted. So here we have a conductive line. And this is the line that they are going to use in actual mine clearance tasks. And on this conductive line, they have a spring. On one end of the spring, there is the hook, and the hook is tied with a vest, and the rat is wearing such a vest, and by pulling this conductive line, the rats can actually move from left to the right, or move from the right to the left. And when the rat is finished with scanning the land on the right, and then the staff can pull the string, and then the rats can come back to the left. So we have a staff right now who has just buried a ball. Each and every time when he identifies the smell, the staff is gonna relocate the ball. Okay, he got it. And when he got it, we heard another sound. And this is a signal that he deserves some rewards. So we see we have buried 2 balls. And the balls containing no TNT explosives, we see that there is no treatment or no activity imposed to that ball. And now let's take a look at a different ball. So this is how they feed this rat. In our imagination, rat is something that looks very disgusting, but here you see this rat is very adorable and very lovely. Again, he has identified the position of the ball that contains explosives. Actually, the rat is getting more and more accustomed to this whole process, and the vest he's wearing is given to him starting from the 4th or 5th week, and so he has to get used to this vest. And this is like building a conditional reflex. And so when after 4 or 5 weeks, he got used to conducting his task wearing this vest. So now let's talk a little bit about why the giant pouched rat is selected as the major category of rat that we use to identify and determine mines. This is mainly because they have very strong sense of smell, and you can see it also has very big ears. So it also has very good hearing ability, but they are not very good at sights, and they have very bad sights, and because they used to work in the night, and also it's very easy to feed them. You might know that some of the landmines are activated if you step on them, if you press the mine with your weight, but the rats that we see right now, they are very lightweighted, and an ordinary rat may weigh around 1 kilo. So even when they step on the mine, they won't trigger the mine. And also, it's easily available on the African continent, and it's produced in the Saharan desert in a pan-Saharan African continent. So they can also they are very prone to the diseases that are very prevalent in Africa, and also they can live up to 6 to 8 years old, which means that you can use these rats for a very long period of time, and they can be at our service for quite a long period of time. And if it is an ordinary type of rats and they get trained for so long a time, and they can only live to maybe 2 years or 3 years, so it's not worthwhile. All right, we have just taken a look at the third round of training. So what's the next round of training? There's another ground here. So this one is about 10 weeks old. You can see that we have so this is a field with the size of 3 by 5 meters. It's roughly 15 square meters. On the field, it's covered with a lot of dirt, and it's a simulated real working environment. So it's quite vivid, and it's like the real working conditions of the rats. And we are testing the responsiveness of the rats. So here they are searching the ball on a larger scale. And we see that on the legs of our staff, a string is tied. This is exactly the string, the conductive line that I was talking about just now. And the rat is tied to this line. And each time the rat has accomplished one route of search, the working staff, they're going to move one step further to the right. And each time they will move roughly about 50 centimeters. And this way, the rat can very comprehensively cover the whole area. And here on this field, we can see 3 marks here on the ground. Oh, sorry, on this field, we have altogether 6 balls. 3 have been identified by the rats, and 2 of them containing explosives. And now let's take a look at how this rat is capable of. Well, he has detected something, another TNT containing ball. And after he identified the ball, he will quickly go to the staff for food. Another ball detected. It may seem very easy, but for the rat, it's a lot of challenge because despite of their very strong sense of smell and hearing, the real working conditions are very sophisticated and complex. And when it is blowing wind, the smell can go to the totally opposite direction. And when it is very windy, it's going to be very challenging. And another very big challenge is rains. When a rain season comes, the soil, the land is going to become very wet and triggering a lot of different sounds. And different sounds will be flowing around in the air. So under rain or windy conditions, the rats can only give you a rough location or position of the container. So that is why during rain seasons or very windy days, and they won't organize the training because they want to give the very positive training to the rats. And by doing so, they also want to boost the confidence of the rats. All right, now you see that the rat has identified 6 TNT containing balls. This is the 7th one. So altogether, we have found 7. After accomplishing this training, now you see this is the gradual procedure, and now you see the staff is feeding the rat. This is what a reward, and this is a gradual process. And at the very beginning, the TNT containing ball is going to be buried very shallow, and gradually they are going to increase the depth of the ball buried underground. And because if it is buried very shallow, it's very easy for the smell to identify for the rats to identify the smell. And when at a later stage of the training, the mines, they're going to be buried deeper. And in actual situations, some of the mines, they are buried deeper due to the changes of natural environment. So we have to train the rats so that they get very sensible towards this smell. All right, this is this part of the training, and we see this HeroRATS has identified and detected all the TNT containing balls in this field. So after this training, the rat is able to qualify real tasks, because this is a very limited space, and after this they are going to be transferred to another area, which is an area bearing real TNT explosives and real mines. And this is buried by the military personnel of Tanzania Army, because this is a long way from us, and we cannot give you a real demo, but we can give you a short video clip, so that through this short video clip, you can get to know more about how the rats are trained. Well, they have to avoid direct sunshine, and each day at 6, the rats start their training. Before the training, they have to get their weight weighed. After weighing, they will be marked on the ear and also on the tail, and this is actually anti-sunburn creams, and then the staff make sure the land field is prepared ready, and they will draw 2 lines on both sides, and this will guide the step moving of the staff. on the edge of the field, there are signs, and this 1.27 means that in another 1.27 meters, there is a mine. The giant pouched rat, they will follow the conductive line and they will search around in the field. Once the rat identifies a mine, he's gonna stop and really concentrate and detect the smell. And when he is confirmed, he's gonna dig out the mine. Let's have a recap. If it is the correct position, the staff, they are going to click the sound box, and after hearing the sound, the rat is going to come to the staff to claim the food. After repeated exercises like this, the rat will get used to this working procedure, and after a long period of time, and they can truly be working together with men to detect the mines buried underground. All right. You can see that this rat on my arms, he is 10 weeks old, and they have just passed the exam that we showed you from the video clip, and they are going to come to the final exam. And this is a very bland and random test, and they are going to give in a square of land for 400 square meters. Only the examiner knows where the mines are buried, and the rats, they can make no mistake in a final exam. Only by passing this exam can they be given a title of a HeroRATS. And after passing this exam, they will truly be a graduate of this training. In real mine clearance tasks, well, let me tell you, these rats, they have been to Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia. In Africa, they have been to Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Angola. And they have identified a total of more than 10,000 mines. Now let's play another video clip to show you how these rats are detecting mines in Mozambique and Cambodia. Detection of mine is a combination efforts of human and technology. And first, we need to remove the grass growing on the land. And then we have to separate those large land into different squares. And we have to mark this land. And then the rats are deployed to each square of land for careful detection. A land field as big as a tennis pitch can be finished by a human technician for 4 days, but for rats it only takes 30 minutes. Then the experts, they are gonna mark the area where a mine is detected. And then they are going to dig out the mine. And then they're going to dismantle those explosives. Up until the present time, and these rats, they have been sent to Angola, Mozambique, Laos, Thais, Cambodia. They have been sent to 7 countries for the clearance of mines. So just now you have seen how those HeroRATS, they get trained and how they work, and so you may ask, what kind of environment are these rats living in? And now we are at the living area of the rats, and here you can see a lot of rats are being fed here. And this area is for the male rats. The male rats, they are separated from the female ones. Now we're gonna put the camera in and for you to take a look at the newborns of the rats. Apart from these rats who are living here, you can take a look at the living conditions of other rats. And let's come to this side. Let's take a look at the living space that they have. And each and every cage contains a little tile. It's like a cave simulating the real living conditions of wild rats. And beside this hole, we have a wooden bar placed here. As we know that rats, they are rodent animals, and their teeth, they grow very fast. And if they don't shorten them by biting stuff, then they won't be able to bite food. So this rat placed here is for the rats to rub their teeth and also to play around with themselves. And this is the dorms of the rats, and on each cage there is a bottle of water, and well, this is basically to offer water. So what do those rats eat? They eat exactly what I'm holding in my hand, and this is like needle shots, but in this needle we have a mixture of juice from banana, from kiwi fruits. This is a mixture of different fruits, and each time we put this kind of food to this container, and we give this food to the rats which are undergoing the training. And the rats, they like banana and they also like peanuts. And we found a very interesting rat, and it's kind of related to us. And as I said, that each and every rat, they have a name. And so what is the name of this rat? And this rat is named after Zhang Heng. We know Zhang Heng is a very famous scientist and astronomer in China. And when we talk about the naming of the rats, the scientists told us that they hope the scientific spirit can be carried by these rats. And so that is why they named every rat after a scientist. And this Zhang Heng is a Chinese scientist from China. So Zhang Heng is sleeping right now, and let's not disturb him. And now we're gonna come outside. So I've just given you a demo of how the rats detect mines. As I said, they are relying on their strong sense of hearing and smell. These rats, they not only can detect mines, they can also do something else. For example, I have some rats behind me, and they can also identify tuberculosis or TB. So because they have a very strong sense of smell, and they can help the staff to diagnose the vaccines of the bacteria of TB, and they are very efficient and more efficient than human beings. And now I had a conversation with the staff, and they told me that relying on a strong sense of smell, and they are going to introduce some new trainings for these rats. And we know that it is illegal to carry wild animal samples from one country to another. And so rats, these giant pouched rats, they are going to make their contributions to help identify the illegal smugglers of animals. And this is a vest that we saw. It's quite similar to the one we just saw, but it's only different. And we have an activator on this vest. And why? Because there are many different types of mines buried underground, and one of the mines is actually activated by a very thin copper wire. And if we use our giant pouched rat to detect the mine, and if they dig for the mine, and they may activate the mine, so they just come up with a different kind of approach. And so each time when the mine is identified, and they are going to pull this bell, and this means that there is a mine buried underground. So through this introduction, you know that these giant pouched rats, they are using their strong sense of smell and hearing, and they are helping human beings to improve efficiency and improve accuracy. And in the meantime, they help the human beings to reduce some real dangers and risks. We know that there are still 61 countries that are subject to the danger of mines. And according to the data in 2016, there are 8,600 explosions in 2016 alone, and 42% of the victims or the death cases go to children. So from this perspective, you can see what significance that the job of mine detection is. So thank you very much for showing an interest. And if you are very interested, you can send us questions, and you can also leave us comments on the application, and we will give you an answer as long as we know it. And if you have more questions, you can send us your proposal, and we can maybe run a program about how these rats identify TB.